Alright, now, I am very excited for the Great Ace Attorney adventures, because for the longest time, everybody in the Ace Attorney fandom was like, this is never gonna get a localization. They're never gonna go for it. They're not gonna touch this with a 10-foot pole. Oh my god. Hold on one sec. Like, fucking... Okay. This is running, right? Okay, no, I'm looking at my stream dashboard and it's like... time elapsed 0. But... I actually played the Scarlet Study version of this... of the first game in the Ace Attorney Adventures. I'm still tempted to call it Daikyaku 7 because that's what I've been calling it forever. But, yeah, basically, when this came out, it was like 2015, I think. I was obsessed with this one motherfucker. You know, I don't even have to allude to it. Just Sherlock Holmes is in this one. I was obsessed with this motherfucker, okay? I don't know why, but this, like, unlocked something in me. It unlocked the dormant Sherlock Holmes fan in me. And I don't know, I was fucking obsessed. When this game came out, I was like, please, 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 Western localization, please, 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 Capcom, please. And then when the game actually, people started realizing what the game was about, which is like xenophobia and racism in the British Empire towards Japanese people, everyone's like, Capcom's not gonna touch this one with a 10-foot pole. But I think it was a year ago that, welcome to the stream, by the way. I think it was like a year ago that some leaks from a pretty decent source, Court Records, it's like the biggest Ace Attorney fan site in the West, and I believe it was Bolt who said, I think it was released on Twitter, but it wasn't on Twitter back then when the information came out. And he was like, there are some pretty solid leaks that suggest there could be a localization for not just the first game, but both of them in the works. And then, hey, sure as hell, a couple of weeks later came the announcement that it would be receiving by the way, we weren't just getting the first game, okay? Capcom has given us the whole kit and caboodle with the DLC, little snippets of Ryunosuke and Kaz's, like, daily... I call him Kaz, I can't call him Kazuma. And it's like... I wish they'd given us, like, the 3DS scenes. That was a missed opportunity. Anyway. It's not 3DS, this is PlayStation! God damn it. If there was, like, a Sherlock Holmes PlayStation home theme for this game, I would... oh my god. Anyway. But this game is a pretty hot-button topic. Hey, Edge, good to see you! Thanks for stopping by. I was just talking about this game's a pretty hot-button topic because one of the overarching themes is racism and xenophobia in the British... Yeah, sure, go ahead. Oh, sorry, is my mic messed up? Or like a stream issue? Yeah, go ahead. Maybe I'm being too loud. I was going to play Bayonetta, some more Bayonetta, because I have a Jean file. But, it's just been hell on my carpals. The carpals are like the root bones in your hand. You know when you flex your this is relevant, I promise. You know when you flex your palm? And on the back, you can see all those tendons. See all those tendons? Well, flip your hand over, and then press your thumb in that space between like the heel of your palm and your thumb. And those are your carpals. And mine hurt like hell after so much Bayonetta. And I've been having like wrist problems too, so I'm like, oh fuck. I'm on my way to carpal tunnel if I'm not careful. So, yeah. And my point is that I played through the Scarlet Study patch like just days before, or like a week before the localization dropped, because I actually have a couple of friends who worked on the Scarlet Study team, and I was like, oh man, everybody, and they knew too, that as soon as the localization dropped, let's streamers take a few moments to let the Twitch notifications and stuff go out before starting to talk. example, I clicked as soon as I got the notification you're already well into talking, if you know what I mean. Sound is fine. Okay, cool, thank you. That's really good advice, actually. Yeah, okay, so let me start from the beginning. So the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, or Adventures, I'm tempted to call it Daikyaku Saiban. It was released in 2015, and basically it's Ace Attorney, but in Victorian England, and Sherlock Holmes is there. And there are much heavier topics discussed. And oh my god, it's amazing. It's really an amazing game. But when it came out in 2015, the fandom, or at least the Western fandom, was like, okay, there's no way Capcom is touching this with a 10-foot pole, considering the themes and the behavior of some of these characters. Even though it's yes, the game is about racism and xenophobia, but towards Japanese people, as written by Japanese people. So it's kind of ridiculous to see some people get all up in arms about it when it's like, bro, they're like, Capcom, how could you? It's like, they're fucking translating the game. Not as well as Scarlet Study, in my opinion, but that's what it is. So I'm very excited to play this on stream. I've been stalling, honestly. You will not be up in arms. Good. This is a wonderful game. Again, the Scarlet Study patch is basically when the fandom thought, okay, this is not going to be localized ever, so we're just going to do it ourselves, which is what I love about the Ace Attorney fandom. They've done that with Ace Attorney Investigations 2, which actually never made it to the US. I think they started a fan patch for Trials and Tribulations when it was still on the Game Boy, I think, and I believe that's where the Capcom picked the name Dahlia, because I think her name, for Dahlia Hawthorne's name, I don't think it was Dahlia Hawthorne, but it was Dahlia. I think in the past, it was like, I'm pretty sure it was like the Game Boy version of Trials and Tribulations. Anyway, Ace Attorney fans were like, okay, if Capcom's not going to translate it, we'll do it ourselves. It has a history of doing that. So the Scarlet Study patch was amazing, and I actually have a friend, a good friend of mine who worked on the team. They did a lot of visual edits, and like the objections, and a lot of the evidence, and some just like background touches, anything visual that needed to be touched up to read to an English-speaking audience. They had a hand in designing, and it was actually really cool to see them talk about the general process of not just like working on the game from a visual standpoint, but being part of the team and having discussions about just, I believe they told me one time, like, they'd be in meetings that would last for hours, and that would be just to decide, like, the nicknames of what one character, just to decide Iris's nicknames for other characters, translating those from like their Japanese counterparts to something that would read the same in English. They'd have like hour-long meetings for that. But yeah, it's just like that loving, incredible work of hard work and passion and effort, and just like and of course, obviously they can't get paid for it. This is just a work of love, the Scarlet Study patch, I mean. Out of the bottom of their hearts. They took time out of their, not even days, I think it was in production for like at least a year and a half. It only came out, I think it was in 2000, towards the beginning of, it really couldn't have been, it was very bizarrely timed. Basically, I think when the Scarlet Study patch, it had just dropped a little earlier, and then the news of the localization came right on the heels of that. So they were like, fuck, really? Really? So, anyway, I've been talking for like 10 minutes about this game and like how it just barely made it to the West. But it is a very interesting take on Ace. I wish I could love something as much as you sound like you love Bayonetta and Ace Attorney. Aw, you're sweet. I love things so much with, I don't know, just find something that you're passionate about and interests you and gets you excited. Maybe part of that is being autistic, and I have special interests, and when I get into a special interest, I'm like, I love it so much, I need to absorb all information I can on everything. And Ace Attorney and special interests are like Keyblades, they choose you. Like, you don't it's bizarre. It's kind of funny and fun, but yeah, there's a lot to love about Ace Attorney, and I hope I can show everyone with this title. And I will be voice acting pretty much every character where I'm able to, because there are some things that are said by certain characters that I'm like, ugh. I'm not sure if I can say that, even in the name of voice acting, but here we are. So, without further ado, let's begin. Hey, Hordian, good to see you. Glad you could stop by. We're just beginning the Great Ace Attorney adventures. This had a very long, checkered history of how it came to the States, not the States, to the West, but it's finally here. How am I doing? I'm alright. I woke up today and I was in that stream, or not stream, I woke up and I was like, I want to stream. But I'm not sure, and my hands and wrists have kind of been bothering me, and I'm like, sometimes I'll feel a little zzz kind of go up my wrist, and I'm like, that's not good. So I'm on my way to carpal tunnel if I'm not careful. Visual novels are a lot easier on the hands, so no button mashing, no frantic, oh my god, like, you know, Ace Attorney doesn't make me break a sweat in the way that Bayonetta does, for various reasons. But I'm pretty good, thanks for asking. Without further ado, let's jump in.
The Empire of Japan. After opening its doors, a push for cultural transformation brought great waves of Western influence to this far eastern island nation. The revolution washed over the land, making life in the capital exciting and unsettling. It was a period of great change, and some were swept away by the tide. But for one man, the turbulence of that era was just the beginning of an extraordinary story.
Oh, Ryu. Thanks for the lure, Cordian. That's really nice of you. I hope you have a great time in Valheim. I still don't know a whole lot about that game. But I hear a lot of people playing it, or I've heard of a lot of people playing it, and it sounds like fun. So I hope you have a good time. Okay, so 22nd of November, 8:43 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature? I believe that's how you pronounce that. Defendant's Antechamber number 5. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe this is happening. How can it be that just beyond the doors to this quiet little chamber is the highest court in Japan, waiting to decide my fate? The soundtrack is so good. What? Oh, no, nothing. Save your glares, murderer! You're killed by a skeleton? Is that in Valheim? Outfit of shame. Sorry. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo, and he does speak with a British accent in this game. It'd be weird to voice act him with any other kind of accent, I feel, especially for me, I feel like. I'm a second-year student at the Imperial Yume University. 3 days ago, I somehow found myself in the middle of a horrifying incident. And now, here I am, awaiting my trial. That's enough! He's not obliged to listen to such abuse, officer. And who are you? I'm this man's lawyer. I'll be defending him today. Lawyer? Yes. And until the judge has given his verdict on the case, no one has the right to treat him as a criminal. So you will hold your tongue. Technicalities. Look at you. You haven't even graduated yet. And yet, I still seem to know better than you how a court officer should behave. You just finished Squid Game on Netflix before you started. Oh, really? I've heard... The only thing I know about Squid Game is that... Are there any squids in it? I don't think there are actual squids in it. Is it like a revamp of the Japanese Battle Royale movie? Which, I haven't seen. No squids? No actual squids, I'm not sure I'm on board. I'm kidding. I would be excited to see some actual... Why do they call it Squid Game if there are no squids? Whatever reason, that's unacceptable. No, I'm having your... I hope you enjoyed it. How long is it? But I have to look into how many seasons Squid Game is. Squid Game. Yeah, I hear it's one of the things that everybody's talking about. Oh, it has one season, okay. My octopus teacher. Yeah, I need to see that. My psychiatrist actually recommended that to me. I need to watch. Sometimes I feel like... I don't know. If I didn't know any better, I'd feel like people were trying to get something across to me. One season so far. Yeah, I googled and it seems like people are already clamoring for a season 2. It's really violent and stuff. I saw Human Centipede when I was 16. I'm pretty... Well, that's... I mean, there's... Well... long story short, I'm unfortunately desensitized to, like, gore and violence. Not just through video games, but just, like, you know... unsupervised internet access. As a kid, it leads you to see some crazy shit. Oh, thank you, that's nice of you to just provide a warning. Sorry, I wasn't trying to be like... I hope I didn't come off as like... whatever, or dismissive or anything. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'll have to look into it too. That wasn't bad, not perfect, but you liked it? That's cool. Yeah, sometimes hype overblows things like way too much. But other times it's like, Squidward is an octopus. He is, yeah, he is an octopus. I knew that. I was very adamant about that fact when I was a kid. I was like, he's an octopus. Squid have fins. And more arms. Oh man, I'm feeling more and more like Squidward every day. Right, Ryunosuke? Oh! Yes, of course. Sorry. What are you apologizing to me for? No, I suppose that wasn't my fault. But really, Kazuma, I never meant to drag you into this. I'm sorry. There you go again, apologizing. Just like always. Though I must say, you've been all over the newspapers these past few days. Yume University professor murdered in cold blood by student. But obviously, you didn't actually do it, did you? Of course not! You have to believe me, I didn't do it! I could never murder someone. Then there's nothing to worry about. Straighten yourself up. Hold your head high. You mean... I believe you. I know you're innocent, Ryunosuke. Kazuma Asogi, my best friend. Also in his second year at Yume University. But he's far more clever than I. Star student, in fact. He's even a qualified lawyer. Impressive, considering he's still an undergraduate. It's not that impressive. The very concept of lawyers is only a few years old. Here in Japan, anyway. My qualifications don't mean much. Yet. You said exactly the same thing 3 days ago. But I'm proud to have a friend like you, Kazuma. Truly. 3 days ago. Yes, that's when all this started. I always thought this graphic was so awkward because you can tell that it's just like his official art, like his full body official art. They took his head from that and they stuck it on this like full frontal illustration view. It just looks bizarre. It just looks so off kilter. Maybe that's not what they did, but I think I've stared at Ace Attorney official art more than I've stared in my own reflection in the mirror. So I think I'm pretty good at being able to tell what's Frankenstein together. Congratulations, Cosma! It looks like you're going to get to study abroad at last! I know! I've been forever dreaming of this day. Finally, those government elites have acknowledged my academic achievements and successes in court. So you'll be representing Japan as you immerse yourself in the most sophisticated legal system in the world. I'm really happy for you, and proud as your friend. There's not a soul in the university who doesn't know Kazuma's name. He's a living legend. It's like there's some mysterious aura billowing around his temple. I want to bring about change in our own legal system. That's why I have to cross the ocean to see the real thing with my own eyes. The heart of the British Empire. I wish I could see it too. Our character's a wuss. He's not a wuss! Okay, well he is a wuss in the beginning, but he gets better. He gets stronger. From the support of his friends and the people he makes think more of yourself. He will! He's on trial for murder, bro! I'd be nervous too. Graphic novels still require art, but I bet they're some of the cheapest and easiest games to make. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I think it depends. There's a really good article on... God, where was it? I think it was... hold on one sec. It's an interview with Shu Takumi, who's the series creator. And he doesn't give English interviews very often. So this is a... Here we go. This is a great article on... Actually, yeah, yes, this is the one that goes into detail. Guess they might be... Yeah, that's what I thought about them reusing some layers. It's a good way to save time. At least I would imagine. I've always wanted to make a visual novel. I definitely couldn't do it as just one person. God, I wish I could go into game design. The kind of the havoc I would wreak if I could be like a video game director and be like, let's summon this into the universe and make it not everybody else's problem. Make it unleash this into the universe. I wish I had the power like Hideki Kamiya to unleash shit like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta into the world. Oh, the programming part, that's right, you do some programming, don't you, Hordian? We might have to stitch together a ragtag group of... I'm not going to hold anybody hostage into creating a ragtag group of an indie game studio, as fun as that sounds. I need to be able to pay people first. Then come with me. We'd have a wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's City of London together. If only it were that simple. Not to say making one is easy, but easier than a large open game with way more assets and animations, etc. Yeah, that makes sense. I see what you mean. Especially with like 3D graphics. You're not really working with a whole lot of like polygonal stuff, except for the evidence. But it's, yeah. And there are, the environments are 3D. It's a lot different ever since it came, especially ever since the Ace Attorney series progressed from like 2D isometric sprite art to 3D models from that was Dual Destinies on the 3DS, and the last the most recent game in the series prior to that was I believe it was Investigations 2, and that was on the DS. What if you're hostage voluntarily? I don't think you're a hostage if you're voluntarily. I think you're just there. I think you're just there. Man, that would be so fun though. I've had fantasies of like, let's make something fun in RPG Maker, something nostalgic, or even not even RPG Maker, but just like, I don't know, somebody with. Then you're just a guest. Yes, life is a circus and we're all the clowns. If only it were that simple. Oh dear. Look at the time. I'd better be going. Alright, I'll see you later. I think I'll stay and enjoy this place a while longer. Good idea. After all, it's not every day you get to visit a high-class Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow then, partner. It was straight after that. That's when it happened. Asogi, may I have a word? Professor! I didn't know you were coming. Man, all these voices. I do this by myself, like voice act Ace Attorney games by myself, but it's totally different when I'm streaming it, because I'm like, oh fuck. Somebody off screen will exclaim something, and I'm like, oh, that's Sasato. It's like, no, it's her dad. And I'm like, oh fuck, this is gonna be this is gonna be an awkward segue. Anyway. Well, this case has personal significance to me. But never mind that for now. Asogi, you should go immediately to the judge's chambers. To His Excellency's chambers? Why? He was looking for you before. You advocating for the defense in this trial was a sudden decision. It seems there may be some confusion about procedures today as a result. Who is this man? I feel as though I've seen him at university before. I see. I'll go at once then.
I shall accompany you.
Alright then, Ryunosuke. I'll see you in the courtroom. Yes. Thanks, Kazuma. I love Sasato, she's amazing. Ugh, this is awkward. If I may? Yes! Sorry! You must be the defendant. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, I believe? Yes! Yes, that's right! My name is Eugene Mikotoba. I'm a professor of forensic medicine at Yume University. Ah, Professor Mikotoba. I've heard that name from Kazuma before. As I recall, he's been pushing to get the government to agree to Kazuma studying abroad. Asogi has told me about you. You and he are best friends, I understand? As such, I feel you should know. Know what? Well, as you've no doubt heard, Asogi has been granted permission to go and study in Great Britain. However, if he should fail to defend you in today's trial, I'm afraid that permission will be revoked and never granted again. What? Ah, as I suspected. Permission, yeah. There are some interesting... There are a lot of moving parts behind the scenes of this game. Why does someone need permission? Oh, ooh! You'll get to see soon. As I suspected. You weren't aware of this. I had a feeling Asogi may have chosen not to tell you. He's agreed to defend me, knowing that if he fails, his dreams will be shattered? But I don't understand! Why would the government do such a thing? The administration has to choose from a large number of applicants for overseas study. It's very difficult to persuade them to grant permission, even in the most favorable of circumstances. I don't believe it. But I didn't do it! I swear it! I'm not a murderer! I'm sure that's true. Nevertheless, why will the government do that? Because it's anime. I mean, why would the government do that? Because it's life. I'm sure that's true. Nevertheless, I can assure you that proving your innocence will be no easy task. Yeah, because he picked up the fucking... Never mind. You see, there are certain peculiarities about today's trial. Sorry? What do you mean? You'll soon understand once proceedings get underway. But then what should I do? Well, naturally, I'm not going to suggest doing anything that could lead to a conviction. Right, so... as soon as the trial starts, the judge will pose a certain question to the defense. When that happens, you must answer before anyone else. You must say, I do. I do? But what will the question be? Surely not... do you accept the accusations brought before you? Of course not. Defendant! Court is about to begin! Proceed to the courtroom at once! Ah, it would seem our surreptitious discussions ought to be cut short. That's a $500 word you don't hear every day. Hearing a lot of those in this game. There's a lot of antiquated language. I love it. So allow me to summarize. Kazuma Sogi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. Of course, as the defendant, the final decision is yours. What are you waiting for? Do you want to be found guilty for failing to appear? Get moving! There's no point in anyone advocating for the likes of you anyway. This is it. If this trial goes badly, Kazuma's dreams of studying abroad are over. And what's more, I'll be found guilty of murder. Oh man. I just realized any British or any British viewers or anyone from the UK watching definitely have some critique for my accent. But I am open to concrete always. So, with absolutely no idea of what lay ahead, I embarked on that unforgettable trial. My one and only chance of proving my innocence, the trial that would decide my destiny. Thanks, I appreciate it. 22nd of November, 9 a.m., Supreme Court of you know what? I'm gonna have to look up how to pronounce that. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Judicature. I think that's how you say it. I don't know where my phone is. I'll figure that out later. Not judging voice acting. Thanks, appreciate it. So this is a courtroom. His nervous eyes. The Supreme Court of Judicature. Okay, I'm gonna oh, sorry. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. I'm gonna have to figure out how to pronounce this. Otherwise, if I keep mispronouncing it, I'm gonna drive myself crazy. Judicature. I think it's Judicature, yeah. So just voice acting positively. Oh, thank you. The Supreme Court of Judicature. No court in the land has more power. I would get up and try and do it from my phone, because I can't exactly hear it from my laptop, the pronunciation, but I don't know where my phone is, and I'm not about to get up from my seat when I'm all cozy. You know what, just go ahead, Violet, go ahead. Go ahead, don't panic. Don't panic like Ryu, he's prone to it too. I don't much like the look of these people sitting in the public gallery. Lots of military and other uniforms in there. The powers that be have demanded that this be a secret trial. A secret trial? A trial that's closed to ordinary members of the public. Only military and government officials may attend. What? But why? It'll become clear in time. But for now... America says judicial court, not court of judicature. Yeah, this is set in the Japanese Empire. And then we'll get to go to Britain in the... Well, we don't get to Britain in the second case. We do in the third one. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. You need to concentrate, Ryunosuke. It's about to begin. I always have to gasp when Ryu jolts in his seat like that. Oh god, I have to come up with voices. It's harder for the male characters, because I'm like... Let me find one for the judge. The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. They all sound the same. The prosecution is ready, Your Excellency. As is the defense. Before we begin, there is one point of order I would like to confirm. Yesterday evening, the defense made a last-minute request for a change of advocate. That's correct, Your Excellency. I made the request myself. Normal procedure is for the defendant's advocacy to be decided 2 days prior to the trial. As this is an unusual circumstance, I am obliged to ask for final confirmation now. Who advocates for the defendant in this trial? This is it. This must be the question. Who's going to defend me? That's the question the professor meant. But then, if I say I do... I need to answer quickly. What should I do? Wait and see. Your Excellency, no confirmation is needed. As I'm standing here beside the defendant, I hope it's clear who will advocate. Yes! What is the meaning of this unruly outburst? I would like to inform the court that I, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, will be defending myself. You'll be... What? What are you playing at, Ryunosuke? Professor Mikotoba told me everything, just now, before the trial. He did what? He said that your dreams of studying abroad would be dashed if you were to lose. How sad. It means you don't have faith in me. You think I won't be able to get you off. The smack sound reactions, yeah. Ace Attorney is great. The sound effects in Ace Attorney are amazing. You think I wouldn't be able to get you off? No! It's not that, really! It's just that... Well, on the off chance that things don't go well for me, I couldn't bear to be the reason that you... Yes. I knew that's how you'd feel. Which is exactly why I decided not to tell you. Professor Mikotoba shouldn't have stuck his nose in. Very well. The court hereby recognizes the defendant's desire to advocate for himself in today's trial. Well, well. Does the accused admit defeat already? Renouncing his own counsel? Really?
Objection!
Make no mistake, counsel. This merely shows that the defendant's innocence is so apparent, he's confident he can speak for himself. Isn't that so, Naruhodo-san? Hmm? Oh, yes, exactly. See how his eyes are darting everywhere and he's really stiff? That's how I feel. That's how I feel when I start streaming. You know, it gets a little easier every time. It gets a little easier. I get the stage fright, Ryu, I really do. Oh! Yes, exactly! Exactly what I wasn't thinking! I'm not confident at all! Hey man, I hear you. In fact, my mind's a complete blank. I realize you're in charge now, but still, try not to look so bewildered. I love that, I called this before he was even in the game. Okay, when the Famitsu... God, I would stay up till like 5 in the morning on Wednesdays for Famitsu, the Japanese magazine, to drop with more information on these games. And when Kazuma's official art was released, I was so obsessive. I was like, okay, his headband is gonna flutter in the wind, and it's gonna inexplicably flutter in the wind indoors. And when he's annoyed or exasperated, it'll just suddenly stop fluttering. And lo and behold, that's what happens. Well, for a mere university student to be brought before the Supreme Court, you must have perpetrated a most heinous crime indeed. Oh, and that character on his fan says guilty. More or less. God, it's been... Yeah, it says guilty, more or less. He must have perpetrated the most heinous crime indeed! As you are no doubt aware, this is the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. Accordingly, the very highest standards of conduct are expected of all present. Do I make myself clear, Defendant Naruhodo? Yes! Your Excellency! It is therefore my duty to assess your competence for the task you have undertaken. My competence? What does that mean? He's questioning your ability to do the job. Well, he can't be questioning it more than I am. So, let's start with the very simplest of questions. Yes! Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. Well, that's easy enough. I've heard his name more times than I care to remember. But... wait. I'm so nervous I can't even remember that! What was it again? Ryunosuke. See? See? Look at his headband! Ryunosuke. Let me guess. Your mind's gone blank? You know me so well. All the relevant information for this case can be found in the court record. But I can't even find that! It's simple. You can access the court record with the press of R1. If you ever find you've forgotten something, just consult that. It's all in there. I just have to press R1 for the court record? Alright, there's no time to lose. This is the list of evidence you've collected. Now try switching to the people instead with R1. You'll find details about the victim in here. When you're done, just press circle to go back. So remember, everything to do with the current case can be found in the court record. Now, you'd better not keep His Excellency waiting any longer. Go on. Well, I'm gonna keep him waiting by going through the court record. The university collar pin. Proof that I'm a student at the Imperial Yume University. I always wear it on the collar of my uniform jacket. And here's the post-mortem report. Post-mortem report. Death occurred a little after 2 p.m. and was caused by loss of blood from a gunshot to the chest. The bullet did not pass through the victim's body. So, victim, John H. Wilson. It's John Watson in the original. That's another thing with, like, having the localization come to the West, like, at all. It's because of, like, the copyright on Sherlock Holmes, which is just about to run out, but ACD's estate is holding on to what little stories remain that are still under copyright for dear life. So they call him Herlock Sholmes in the game, so they can get around copyright. It's really funny. So you'll be seeing names like that kind of shifted around in Sherlock lore. It's pretty fun. Herlock, yep, Herlock Sholmes. Like, God, what was this? Who wrote the character of Arsène Lupin? Fuck, I know his name. Well, I can't remember it now, but basically he did the same thing. Capcom did the same thing. The victim is John H. Wilson, male, British, time of death, 19th of November, shortly after 2 p.m. Cause of death, single bullet fired at close range, fatal hemorrhage from pectoral ballistic trauma. No exit wound. Bullet did not pass through the body. So we've got that out of the way. Let's go on. Find the victim in the people section of the court record. Oh fuck, we didn't even look at the people section! Okay. I'm Bubu the Fool. Anyway, this is Kazuma Sogi. He's 23. Second year at the Imperial Yume University. He's my best friend, and despite being a student, a qualified defense lawyer as well. Eugene Mikitoba, a medical school professor at the Imperial Yume University. He's an authority in forensic medicine, and Kazuma's mentor. Taketsuki Auchi, 51, the lead prosecutor of this case, who would appear to have little love for the changes the Cultural Reformation has brought about. Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. This takes place, like, well, in Japanese history, it's like the Meiji Restoration, which is like when Japan was like, okay, let's open up, let's stop being so isolated and like open ourselves up to other countries and shit. That sounds fun. So that's what this turned. That's part of. I think the exact year is like 1899. I think. And here we have the victim, John H. Wilson, the victim of this case. He was a visiting professor of medicine at New University from the British Empire. Yep, that's our guy.
Yes!
The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. Well, at least you can remember the name of an esteemed member of your own university. Dr. Wilson was a visiting professor from England, invited to University 3 years ago. Indeed, which is the reason why this case has such profound implications. The British Empire is at present our country's most valuable foreign ally. And as of most of you will be aware, we have just signed a new treaty together after lengthy negotiations. There can't be anyone who hasn't heard of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. And yet, despite these delicate circumstances, the blood of an Englishman has been spilt on our soil. You two are both undergraduates at the Imperial Yume University, are you not? Murdering a professor from the very institution that provides your education. Have you no honor? But I didn't do it. This case is coming under great scrutiny from our allies on the other side of the world. The court therefore wishes for a speedy resolution to this matter. In other words, our feeble government is scared of upsetting England's policymakers. And you're a convenient and expendable scapegoat to blame for this crime. So that's why this trial has these unusual peculiarities, is it? Exactly. Our government needs to convict someone as quickly as possible. All because the victim was an Englishman. Yes, Dr. Wilson was an Englishman. But nationalities and treaties won't make any difference for me here. The fact is, I was there at the scene of the crime. Yeah, and you picked up the... You picked up the fucking gun, man. Oh dear, look at the time. I'd better be going. Alright, I'll see you later. I think I'll stay and enjoy the space a little longer. Good idea. After all, it's not every day you get to visit a high-class Western restaurant like this. See you in English class tomorrow then, partner. The British Empire. Wow, it's incredible to think... Wait. I've seen that man at university. I'm sure he's a visiting professor from Great Britain. I don't know his name, but still, I should go and say hello. So I went over to the professor's table and introduced myself to Dr. Wilson. How cute he is! He's adorable! Now then, let me pose my next question to you, Defendant Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency! How did this professor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson, lose his life? State before the court the cause of death. Yes, gunshot wound to the chest. The cause of death. Well, obviously, that was, the UNESCO. Remember that in court, every assertion must be backed up by evidence. By evidence? But how? Find the piece of evidence that shows the professor's cause of death and select present. Do it now! Alright.
Yes!
Got him. Well... According to this document, the victim suffered a hemorrhagic death due to gunshot trauma. Learn to read, you imbecile! That's the post-mortem report, I take it? Sorry, yes. That's right. The, post-mortem report. And between me not knowing how to pronounce judicature and Ryu not knowing how to pronounce hemorrhage, I think we're in pretty good company. In the West, a doctor dissects corpses to identify the cause of death in an autopsy. But here in Japan, a police officer merely inspects the body and draws conclusions that way. Oh, I see. As long as I'm not going to be tested on any of this later. This is a so-called photographic print of the scene of the crime. Oh yeah, that's right, like, photos hadn't been invented yet, I think, so they're like, yeah, we can't exactly sidestep this, we need photos, so we're just gonna, like, acknowledge that this is technology far beyond what's actually set in, you know, the setting of the game, and just leave it alone. It suspends your disbelief for just long enough. You can clearly discern scorch marks around the bullet hole produced by the powder explosion. In other words, we should assume that the victim was shot at close range. Forget who I'm voicing. Thank you, counsel. The court will accept this modern scientific evidence into the record. Yeah, see? The court will accept this modern scientific evidence into the record. The photographic print of the victim has been entered into the court record. So that's a photographic print. Well, that's something I've never seen before. It's clearly superior to a drawing. The detail's incredible. Very well. I am satisfied with your answers. Let us start the trial. Certainly, Your Excellency. So, without further ado, in order to better apprise the court with the facts of the case, the prosecution hereby calls its first witness, who was there at the scene of the crime when it happened. This is it, then. I think I may have worked out what the professor had in mind. The professor? You mean Dr. Mikitoba? Yes. Clearly, you're the defense lawyer today, not me. But that doesn't mean... Well, I can still act as your assistant. Ah! Of course! When he was speaking with me before, he simply said, Kazuma Osogi must not be the defense lawyer in this trial. He really has been sticking his oar in, hasn't he? Maybe, but any help you can give me would be greatly appreciated, Kazuma. Well, my first piece of advice is, rein in that crazy look of bewilderment and control the cold sweats. If you rein in that crazy headband and control the cold stares first. Ah, Hosonaga. He's a real one. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court, please. I have to come up with one for Hosonaga, hold on. Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I am the head waiter at a Western-style restaurant called Le Carnival. Are you alright? You seem to be coughing up some, He's like, nah, I'm good. It's a regular occurrence. It really doesn't bother me. Well, it really, really should. As everyone knows, the capital's southeastern quarter was developed for foreign visitors some year ago. It's become a very fashionable district now, full of hotels to accommodate overseas guests. This grim crime occurred in one of the district's so-called restaurants, an Occidental eatery, 3 days ago. Regular occurrence, I know, right? It's like, you good, dude? Hosonaga, he goes hard as hell. We'll get to see. I think he God, I don't know. I mean, he might be like our boy Arthur Morgan. Might not only has a few months left in him, I'm not sure. Understood. Hosonaga-san, you will kindly tell the court everything you can about the incident. At once, sir. And no petty interjections from the aspiring lawyer boy, please. Perspiring maybe, but aspiring? It was just after 2 p.m. on the day in question. We have few diners at that time of day. The lunchtime rush was over, and there were only 3 tables still occupied. That fits in with my memory of it too. There was hardly anyone else in the place. It was when I was in the kitchen, putting away crockery and cutlery. Give me a sec. Oh, my headphones are messing up. Give me a sec. No, they're still pretty messed up. One sec. Okay. We good? You still hear me? If you can still hear me, I will probably... One sec. I have to go find my phone. Be right back. Quit it. Controller is so touchy. Thanks for waiting. My phone was literally right behind me. It was literally right behind me. But now we're going to get to the bottom of how to pronounce judicature once and for all, because I am so persnickety about pronunciation if I can help it. Not anybody else's, but just like mine. Oh, for the love of God, Violet. My phone was under my thigh. How the hell do you pronounce this word? Give me a sec. Thank you for your patience. Alright, how do you say this shit?
Judicature.
Judicature! We got it right! Okay. Thank you. Alright, let's move on. A gunshot rang out, so I hurried out to the dining area to see what had happened. I found the victim, an English gentleman, slumped in his chair. And standing immediately beside him, gun in hand, was the accused university student.
Yes!
Hold on! Let me just clarify something here. While I did pick up a gun I found lying on the floor beside the professor, I didn't shoot him!
Objection!
I believe I asked you to refrain from petty interjections. The court wishes to listen to the witness's report of what he saw, you amateur. But... the next time you interrupt at an inappropriate time, you will be penalized, Defendant Naruhodo. Don't worry, Ryunosuke. You'll have your chance to fight back. Lurk for a fugue and showering to a bit more comfortable. Aw, thanks for the lurk. I appreciate it. Have a nice shower and get cozy. For now, we must just quietly listen to the witness. If I may confirm one point, waiter. Standing beside the victim with a gun in his hand was the same man we see here in court today. Yes, without question. I see. And apart from the accused, was there anyone else standing beside the victim? No. There was no one else around that table but the deceased Englishman and the university student. Huh? Wait, what did he just say? There was no one else around that table? What's the matter, Ryunosuke? That's just not right. When I went over to Dr. Wilson to say hello, there was a woman sitting opposite him at his table. Really? And that's not something the waiter could have missed. been warned about interjecting, but still, what should I do? I don't think wait and see has ever been beneficial in any of these games. Just a moment, please. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone that day. I'm sure of it. There was a lady sitting with him at the same table.
Objection!
Dear me, dear me. What are we going to do with you? With your blatant disregard for court proceedings, I'm beginning to wonder if you're not a fraud. Could it be that the accused, this mere student, is not a real lawyer after all? But I'm sure of what I saw. Hosonaga-san, is there any chance you're mistaken? Perhaps your memory of events is hazy. No. The deceased gentleman came to dine alone. I don't believe it. I actually have a rough plan of the restaurant as it was that day. Please, have a look if you'd like to. Let me see. A sketch of the establishment's layout drawn by yourself, I presume? This is totally different in the Scarlet Study patch. It just says, like, kitchen and I believe that says entrance at the bottom left. But in the Scarlet Study patch, it just says, like, kitchen and entrance, and it's different. It's a lot different. I'm glad I played the Scarlet Study patch before this one, because I can point out the differences, and especially within such recent time windows of each other, too. It's fun to point out the differences. Let me see. A sketch of the establishment's layout drawn by yourself, I presume? That's right. I'm afraid I used the back of my business card. It was a turbulent situation. However, as you can see, the gentleman in question was seated alone. Well, you're clearly a very conscientious waiter. Thank you, sir. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Well... Is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course. Here you are. What was that about? He's been completely calm and collected until now. You alright, man? Oh, hey! Hey, pudding boxes! Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. We got Hosonaga mid-coughing fit. We're playing the Great Ace Attorney. Something certainly seems to have shaken him. The waiter's business card has been entered into the court record. Am I doing well? Yeah. Please stop coughing. That's going to drive my misophonia crazy. Thank you, Hosonaga. I'm doing pretty nice. Never played this one. Is it good? Is the Pope Catholic? Does a bear shit in the woods? Dude, you have to play this immediately. If you're an Ace Attorney fan, you've got to pick this up. You've got to pick this up, like, right now. It is so good. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's, like, the best Ace Attorney game since Investigations 2. You can just watch me play it, though. That's true, too. I hope you enjoy. My voice acting is, rudimentary, but I love to have fun with it. So... The court has now heard a precis of the case. I think that's how you say that. Yeah, say that. Yes. At the moment the gunshot was heard in the restaurant, the only person in close proximity to the victim was the defendant on trial today. It would seem we are looking at a black and white case here. Defendant Naruhodo? Yes, Your Excellency. If you admit your guilt at this stage, the court is willing to look mercifully upon you. In other words, you may have some small reprieve in terms of your inevitable punishment. I call this waiter as an unsworn witness in order to explain the details of the case to the court. But I must warn the defense, if you are determined to pursue matters further in this trial, the prosecution has decisive evidence from sworn witnesses who were present at the scene of the crime. Gotta listen to this track. The soundtrack is so good. I literally imported the soundtrack, like, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, and I had every single track, downloaded to my phone. Every single fucking track. Even the little jingles in between that last like 5 or 7 seconds. I'm so obsessed with this game. This track is amazing! Anyway. What do you think I should do, Cosima? What do you mean? Well, I'm going to be found guilty one way or another, it seems. Wouldn't it be sensible to plead guilty at this stage and hope for a more lenient sentence? Everyone keeps telling me that this trial is unusual, about these peculiarities. You've said it, Professor Mikotoba said it, and so has the judge and the prosecution. I'm scared of what lies ahead if I push this. As I said from the outset, I believe you're innocent. I trust you. And yet, despite knowing that, you're willing now to throw that trust back in my face? Is that it? What? If the accused is in fact innocent, then a defense lawyer is duty-bound to prove that innocence by whatever means necessary. Are you just going to abandon that duty? Are you going to give up on yourself? The battle hasn't even begun yet, Ryunosuke. He was all startled. The defense pleads not guilty, Your Excellency. We invite the prosecution to stop making empty threats and bring out its witnesses. Then we'll see just how decisive this evidence really is. Indeed. Prosecutor Ouchi, please continue with proceedings. Well, you were warned. The young can be so reckless. You know, many call me a saint, but I can be a devil when I want to be. In a few short moments from now, that dumbstruck young mouth of yours will be silenced forever. The prosecution calls its next witnesses. Very well. Officer, bring forth the witnesses at once. Witnesses, kindly state your names and occupations for the court. Oh god, I gotta come up with the voices for these guys too. Yes, sir. The Great Nippon Imperial Army Sergeant Iesa Nosa, reporting for duty, sir. Myself, I find employ as a purveyor of fine articles of antiquity from the efflorescence of our nation, Nippon, and conduct my trade from Rasute, a humble premises in the 2nd District. Curio Korakuta, at your service. Very phonetic. Those weren't their names in the original Japanese version, so there's kind of been a little bit of, not pushback, but people are like, really? Really? You're gonna make these... And it'd be one thing if their names were, like, punny in the Japanese version, but they're not. They're just, like, normal names. So there's a little bit of, not controversy, but nitpicking. I don't know how I feel about it either. An antique dealer and a soldier. What an unusual pairing. Both of these gentlemen were present at the restaurant on the day in question. They must be the diners at the other table that the waiter mentioned. Myself, I habitually take tea of the most exquisite aroma at the establishment in question, always post-noon. And, not infrequently, converse with interested parties regarding the curios with which I make my business. Nice old man voice, thank you. I can't understand what a word that old man is saying. I'm glad you guys can. He's an antique dealer, and it sounds like he's a regular at Le Carnival. He seeks out potential customers who may have an interest in antiques and tries to sell his wares to them. He obviously targets Le Carnival because it's a high-class restaurant with rich clientele. Right, I see. Although, to be honest, that sergeant looks more like he'd be a seller rather than a buyer. Now, you both witnessed the precise moment of this most atrocious incident. Is that correct? Affirmative! The enemy unit was seen attacking the foreigner in what can only be described as an act of war, sir! It was that black uniformed rogue infantryman over there who unloaded his firearm, sir! This man's as impossible to understand as the other. But I'm almost sure I heard a strange noise during that last thing he said. So, this is the decisive evidence the prosecution was threatening. The soldier is claiming that he actually saw the precise moment you shot the victim dead. Yes. Well, are you starting to feel uncomfortable? If I'm honest, I was feeling uncomfortable from the start. Now, the court will hear your formal testimony, please. You will state everything you saw at the precise moment that the incident occurred. Sir! Yes, sir! Standing by, ready to report, sir! Unsavory memories of a most acerbic afternoon. What the witnesses saw. Gotta listen to the testimony song just for a bit. Alright. I was ingesting a regulation beef steak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man. Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman. At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. I was on my hands and knees, investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precious curio. Well, so you, Sergeant Nosa, actually witnessed the vital moment. You saw the split second when the defendant fired the weapon at the victim. Yes, sir! Affirmative, sir! That wicked university cadet, sir! The cruel and unforgivable enemy! What times we live in, when an English gentleman may be assailed in the broad light of day. But this is ridiculous! I didn't shoot anyone! Is that really true, Ryunosuke? Yes! All I did was pick up the gun that I saw lying on the floor! As you do. After I'd said hello to Dr. Wilson, I went back to my table and sat drinking some coffee. I need some coffee, I got a caffeine headache. Then, when I'd finished, I got up from my seat to leave the restaurant, when I noticed an English-made gun next to the chair where the professor was sitting. Oh, this is really good. Listen, if you've played Ace Attorney games before, you'll recognize a lot of some of the series' most iconic themes in Daiketsu Silent, or The Great Ace Attorney. It's like an orchestral version of the 8-bit. However, an orchestral version of the games that were on Game Boy and DS. It's really good. I thought perhaps the professor had dropped it. Oops. I thought perhaps the professor dropped it and I bumped my mic. So I bent down, and just as I was picking it up, well, if that's the truth, there was obviously a criminal on the scene somewhere. And somewhere in these two witnesses' testimonies, there's a clue as to who that criminal was. There is? Ryunosuke, you must exercise your right to cross-examine the witnesses. Cross-examine? Do it now. As we have heard, Your Excellency, there is no room for doubt in the testimony of these witnesses. The defendant is clearly guilty. It is time to bring this despicable student to justice. Certainly. The testimony that the court has just heard eliminates any vestige of doubt. I think that's how you pronounce that. Therefore, it is my grave duty... He's so polite, he raises his hand. What in the name of the Emperor is the meaning of this outburst? I mean, the defense... It demands its right to a cross-examination! Dear me. Dear me. Let me guess. The Hachimaki headband boy next door told me to do it? How pathetic. Huh? How did he know? The prosecution objects. This is a clear waste of time. The defendant obviously has no experience. How can he possibly carry out a cross-examination?
Objection!
The defense is asserting its right to a cross-examination. Whether or not you think he's capable of it is irrelevant. Ooh. Cuspid's so commanding. Very well. Let defense conduct a cross-examination of the witnesses. Alright, this is where the battle really begins, Ryunosuke. But I don't even know what I have to do in a cross-examination. Isn't it obvious? You have to expose the lies in the witnesses' statements. How? You didn't fire the gun, which means what that soldier said has to be a lie. Well, yes, but it's just a case of proving it. And the key to doing that is evidence. Right. Evidence. All you need to do is present some decisive and indisputable evidence that proves the witness is lying. Now let's go, Ryunosuke. Don't let them beat you! Alright then. It's all or nothing. Alright. We are gonna press every statement. Leave no stone unturned. I was ingesting a regulation beefsteak at the restaurant while having a tactical discussion with the old man.
Yes!
What? Why aren't you saying anything? Is this some new interrogation technique? I hadn't actually thought of what I wanted to ask. Just ask about anything that catches your attention. Anything that bothers you. Yeah, Ryu is an awkward duck. Alright then, this beefsteak you mentioned. What kind of food is that? Attention! Ah! Beefsteak is a delicious cut of veal, vigorously cooked on a cast iron grill and served piping hot. Oh. If food could receive medals of honor, beefsteak would be almost as highly decorated as a cutlet. Right, I see. Thank you, sir. So, next question. This cutlet you mentioned. What kind of food is that? Attention! Ah! Cutlet is a delicious cut of veal tossed in breadcrumbs and deep fried in cooking oil. Accept your guilty verdict, atone for your crimes, and when you're released from prison, try it! Yes, sir, I will, sir. On the double, sir. Sorry to interrupt, but how about trying to stick to questions that are relevant to the case? Oops, sorry. I'll do my best. So, next question. Is it just me, or do you keep hearing a sort of wah crying sound? Negative! Well, at least we've learnt that he's a big beef lover. Affirmative. It's not easy knowing what questions to ask. Myself, I was extolling the virtues of a particularly fine golden curio to the military gentleman.
Yes!
Aw, thanks, Edge, I appreciate it. I have no idea what you're talking about! A koban, boy. A koban? You made an old Edo coin? The day prior to the incident, a treasure of exceptional value from the Hoei period entered my possession. I took myself to the restaurant the following day, with said item secreted in my bosom pocket, in the hope of an affluent... Oh god, okay, I'm gonna have to learn how... Pause! I need to learn how to pronounce that, because that's a $1,000 word. Give me a sec. Cognoscent? I don't know. Let me hear it.
Cognoscenti.
Cognoscenti, Jesus. Try that again. In the hope of an affluent cognoscenti appraised of its indisputable value being present. So, you were hoping to sell your Koban coin? To Sergeant Nosa, whom you met at the restaurant? Yes, it's quite clear where you're going with this, boy. You were about to assert that a penniless soldier would have no hope of purchasing such a precious Koban. Isn't that so? Well... You little upstart cadet! You want to add disrespecting a superior officer to your list of crimes, do you? Blatant subordination! No, I didn't say anything! Although penniless might be just the word I was looking for. In any case, the hour was already advanced beyond that of the midday luncheon. There remained precious few present with whom I could engage in discourse about matters of business. The gentleman... You're gonna have a lot of those. The gentleman aside me, who was grappling with his braised veal at the time, was my sole prospect. I see. At that precise moment, a firearm was discharged. I observed the enemy's actions with my own eyes.
Yes!
So, you're saying that you actually saw me at that time? Affirmative! I saw you! Laughing, cackling, like a madman as you trained the barrel of your gun on the English civilian. But that's impossible! Allow me to confirm just one point, please. What's that, Private? Thinking carefully about the statement you just made, it seems to me that it must have been just after you heard the gunshot that you looked over to the victim's table. And so what if it was? Well, if that really is the case, it would mean that you didn't, in fact, see the precise moment when the killer actually fired the gun. And double... My sixth sense. Sorry? My sixth sense of danger. I picked up the waves of murderous energy radiating from your foul mind. Which means... a split second before you pulled the trigger, I was looking right at you, cadet! Surely that's not really possible, is it? Do you think I'd have got where I am today in the army if I couldn't sense danger in the air, son? Well... it would seem this soldier is absolutely convinced that he saw you do the deed. This is not good. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel.
Yes!
So this black uniformed university cadet, you're saying that was... I've had just about enough of your sauce, cadet! Who else do you see around here in black uniform, Well, there's someone standing right next to me who fits the description as well, but... It was you, you little weasel! You unloaded the firearm on that man! From behind his back! And you call yourself a citizen of the great empire of Nippon? You disgust me! I love that. It's so cute. I love that, like, dawning realization look on his face. It's adorable. What is it, Ryunosuke? I'm not quite sure. It's something that the sergeant just said, but I can't put my finger on it. Something's playing on my mind. In that case, check back over the details of the evidence you've gathered in the court record. And if you find an inconsistency there with what the witness just said, then don't hold back. Present the evidence to the court. Thrust it in the witness's face and make him choke on it. We will, after we've gone through all the testimony, cuz. Hang in there. I was on my hands and knees, investigating the whereabouts of my mysteriously absconded precious curio.
Yes!
On your hands and knees? Could you explain that, please? That's right. Spurning the arthritis, I was, in order to retrieve the lost piece. What lost piece are you referring to? The Koban, of course! The exquisite Hue Arakoban coin! I had just been showing the rare treasure to the military man as he masticated his meal. After averting my eyes for the briefest of moments, it was there no more. It simply vanished. The Koban vanished? Hence, I began to acquaint myself with the intricacies of the floor in order to locate it. And then it happened. You heard the gunshot, you mean? None other than! Though it was no concern of mine. I was frantically scouring the floor for the aforementioned lost treasure. So, in fact, you didn't actually witness the precise moment when the incident occurred? Indeed. Myself, I did not. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. Listen, Radionovsky. We know there are lies lurking in these statements. It's time to expose them. I understand that. The question is, how? Like I said before, the key to this is using evidence that you've collected. You can examine and present evidence while a witness is giving testimony by pressing R1. Go through each witness statement and the details about each piece of evidence and compare all the facts. Somewhere in there you'll find something that doesn't add up. In other words, an inconsistency. An inconsistency. When you find a statement and a piece of evidence that seem to contradict each other, present your evidence with triangle and rip the witness apart. Just be careful, because if you assert a contradiction that has no basis, you'll be given a penalty. If you're dealt too many penalties, the defense's case will fall apart and you'll receive a guilty verdict. So that's it. Peruse the evidence in the court record and find an inconsistency with the witness's statement. Alright, I'll give it a try. You can hear the witness's statements over and over again, as many times as you like. So keep your head and be measured in your attack. Good luck, partner. Kaz is a really great height, man. Okay, I think it was like the fourth statement we have an issue with. Fired on the English civilian from the back? That's not true. Because man was shot from the front.
Yes!
What are you playing at, cadet? What is the meaning of this subordination? Thrusting some photographic print in my mustache? Inconsistency! Sir! Modern technology, yes. I mean, yes, there's a clear inconsistency here. What nonsense. What can this print possibly tell us that we don't already know? Well, obviously, that, I know what I want to say, but the words just won't come out of my mouth. Oh, I've been there. I think this proves beyond any doubt, Your Excellency, that there is no place for an amateur student here in this grand courtroom. This is so frustrating. Oh, please. Surely this doesn't require an explanation. It couldn't be more plain. To spell it out would be an insult to the court. Oh, Kazum Esteem. Let's take a sec to listen. It's so good. Kazuma, what? What are you talking about? It's apparent from a single glance at the photographic print presented by the defense that there's a clear discrepancy here with the sergeant's statement. What? Sergeant Iesanosa. Yes, sir! What, sir? The statement you just made was this. The black uniformed varsity cadet fired on the English civilian, and from the back, the cowardly little weasel. Yes, sir! Affirmative, sir! I witnessed the crime with my own military-grade eyes, sir!
Yes!
But no! That just can't be! And why not, cadet? Because... Take a close look at the print. The victim, Dr. Wilson, died from a bullet wound to the chest. Ah! Sergeant, according to your witness statement, the culprit shot the victim from behind. And that is the obvious discrepancy here. Well, how do you explain it? What was that? Something just popped up from behind his back, but he pushed it down again? Certainly, there is a clear discrepancy with the facts here. Would you not agree, Sergeant Nosa? Yes, sir. At this juncture, that would appear to be indisputable. Until the moment I heard the firearm discharge, my eyes were firmly fixed on the delicious La Carnival steak. Sir! What? The last testimony the court heard has proven one thing beyond all reasonable doubt. Can't stop staring at the jiggling earlobes of the dude on the right. Yeah, the curio collector. It's pretty. God, I love these little touches. It's such a great thing from Ace Attorney being not translated literally, but like going from isometric pixel art to 3D models. It's so many more ways to tack on little. What's the word I'm looking for? Little peculiarities and character traits. It's very cute. They did do a good job. The last testimony the court heard has proven one thing beyond all reasonable doubt. Oh, come on, my headphones get all staticky again. One sec. Hopefully it won't. It's good to see you, Rue. Thanks for stopping by, too. Okay. Okay. Ah! Okay. Are we good still? We good still? Much like when Guilty Gear went to 3D models but animated them to resemble their 2D sprites. Oh yeah, I've seen some Guilty Gear footage. Oh good, thanks Edge. Awesome. Yeah, I've seen some Guilty Gear footage. I like that that kind of that fusion of 2D and 3D is just something that's really hard to replicate. It's something that's hard to nail in general. I'd always love to see it. The last testimony the court heard has proven one thing beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness, Sergeant Iesanosa, did not see the defendant firing a gun at all. That's absurd! I think the conclusion we must draw is simple. There is no place for an amateur prosecutor here in this grand courtroom. There's been a complete turnabout in the mood of this trial, just from that one discrepancy. So this is what being an ace attorney is all about. But I definitely saw him! That university cadet there! He was pointing the firearm directly at the victim's back!
Yes!
Boom. But I never fired the gun! All I did was pick it up off the floor! And you, old man, you didn't see the moment the victim was shot either? Yes, jiggling earlobes are very hypnotic. Myself, I have already been quite clear. The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor. Oh, yes. You were looking for your Koban coin, weren't you? Indeed. The prized Hoei-era Koban. Hunting around under the table I was, in case mayhap it had fallen there. And then it happened. You heard the gunshot, you mean? Indeed I did, but I heeded it not, for I was concerned only with finding my absconded Hoei treasure. Nothing could distract me! Out of interest, did you find the coin in the end? No. I see. That lamentable day, the precious Hoei Koban was lost to me. No doubt some unscrupulous scoundrel pocketed the prized coin for himself. As I am sure everyone present is aware, this case demands a swift and decisive resolution. Our government has promised to send a full report to Great Britain by telegraph this very afternoon. Nevertheless, the witness testimony the court has just heard was inconclusive. No matter how subservient our government feels it must be to the British, it would be unforgivable to deliver a verdict on this trial right now. What is your position, prosecutor Ouchie? Worry not, Your Excellency. The defendant may have fled a tiger at the front gate, but he will find a wolf at the back. My witnesses have further testimony to make. Explain. Upon hearing their next statements, it will become abundantly clear that there is only one person who could have possibly committed this despicable crime. The equally despicable defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What? He really seems to have a despicable opinion of you, doesn't he? Very well. The court invites the witnesses to testify again. You will thoroughly explain the reasoning behind the prosecution's allegation. Is that clear? As clear as Kiriko glass, Your Excellency. Yes, sir! At once, sir! Awaiting signal to testify, sir! Excuse me, but there's something or someone peeking out over your shoulder, I think? Affirmative! The newest member of the Nosa family to rise up to the ranks, sir! Name? Ido. It would seem those straps are a sign of the sergeant being too strapped to afford a nanny. Ido, attention! Your father is about to quell the enemy! Watch and learn, my boy! A true culprit. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, that young lad in black. That much I myself did see. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed. Alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out! These testimonies are... Wait! That's nonsense! The victim, Dr. Wilson, it wasn't alone at all! Please, enough of these outbursts already! But there was a woman! There was a young woman at his table! You must have seen her! Everyone there must have seen her!
Objection!
If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. We are not here to listen to your fantasies. It is evident beyond all reasonable doubt that the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has photographic evidence of this fact. Is this a photographic print of the scene of the crime, counsel? Indeed. Of the table at which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As can plainly be seen, there is only one place set. Certainly, based on the appearance of this print, it would be reasonable to conclude that the victim was not in the company of anyone else. This doesn't make any sense. The court will add this new photographic evidence to the record. The photographic print of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. I don't understand. What's going on here? It's just not possible that nobody else saw that woman. The waiter before said the same thing. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well. But that's not true! I saw her! I swear that I saw a woman with him. It would seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time, after all. Cosmo must be enjoying his refreshing perpetual breeze. Yeah, it must be nice. Ryu's out here sweating and freaking out. He probably needs that fan more than Ouchie does, and Kaz is over here with his own portable. The air conditioning is his calm mind. I love it too. It would seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time after all. The witness testimonies we have just heard leave no further room for doubt. These are very sensitive political times, as we all know. The ink is still fresh on the treaty with Great Britain. To think that I, Taketsuki Ouchie, that was a slip-up, will have contributed to the amity of those two great empires is an honor. How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule. Stand tall, Ryunosuke. It's not over yet. What? If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. And now is your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth, in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma. The defense is entitled to cross-examine the witnesses, but make it quick. Understood? Rules can be so unbending at times. Time to press every statement, for the sake of, being thorough. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing!
Yes!
No, it's not the same thing at all! For a start, I didn't fire that gun! We have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion of a uniformed officer versus that of a fledgling cadet. I don't think so. Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked. Did you? Did you see it? Did you see me blink? How could I? And yet, it is an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it. Have what? Attention! The sound of the firearm rang in my ears, and the very next moment, I saw you waving the gun at the Englishman. I think that says it all. Don't you? And let us not forget that the antiques dealer witnessed the accused in this most incriminating position as well. Isn't that so, Korekata-san? Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, that young lad in black. That much I myself did see.
Yes!
Yes, it may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I told you already, that's only because I picked it up off of the floor. Well, obviously, as the culprit, that's the only way you could explain it away. I had just finished drinking my coffee, and I was about to leave the restaurant when I noticed a gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. And at exactly that moment, a gunshot rang in my ears. Full of events beyond our control, life is. Sorry? What do you mean? In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas, conversely, I failed to pick up the go button from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as a result. Anyway, the fact remains. Myself, I did see you, with pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner. Furthermore, a visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present.
Yes!
Ah, staticky headphones. One sec. Ah! Whoops. Hopefully you're good. I'm gonna invest in a pair of wireless headphones soon, but it's hard to find wireless headphones that are actually good at a reasonable price. Anyway. You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there.
Objection!
As you have been at pains to point out time and again, I feel I'm growing a callus in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. If only there'd been more people dining there at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. No. Of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect. Certainly. 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone. Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was. This was found in the victim's jacket pocket. What is that, Counsel? It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant. Porter, clinic? Yes, there would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. Like Hardy Clinic from, I think it was Justice for All, that introduced Dr. Hardy. I thought that was a charming callback. The 19th of November, noon to past 1 p.m. The very day of the incident. So the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on the case. I wonder. What do you think, Ryunosuke? Well, it is hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Should I ask for Dr. Wilson's medical report card to be submitted as evidence or not? I mean, yeah.
Yes!
Sometime I'll choose no and see what happens. One of these days. We have to keep things moving. If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? The court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern.
Objection!
Whether or not they are of concern is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues. I beg your pardon? You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request. Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's a most disturbing trend. Yeah, fuck these kids and their human rights, man. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. The victim's medical report card has been entered into the court record. What we need right now is new clues. I agree. Let's take a look. There we go. I spoke too soon. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right. I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already for you. Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witness testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, correct-san. You're a huge fan of Ace Attorney. I am! I love Ace Attorney. It's like, I've been into it, God, I think I was like 12 when I first picked it up, so like, Jesus, yeah, 13 years. 13 years and going strong. What's your opinion, 5 pips or life bar? I think the pips are... I think they're a little bit more creative, but I think the life bar... It depends on the game. I like that they have little badges. It depends on like the art direction of the game, but I like either. So you're an Ace Attorney fan too, Rue? What's your guys' favorite title? It's hard, man. Investigations too. If you're ever interested in like picking up the fan patch for it, or if you speak Japanese, it's a great game. It's so good. You played a couple of them. That's cool. It's the trilogy is up on, I think, on Steam and PSN and on Switch too, which is a great place to start. That's where it all began. That includes Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright Justice for All, and Trials and Tribulations. And after that, the timeline gets more complicated. I think you prefer the life bar. It adds additional stress when you're given high damage penalties. Yeah, actually, yeah, I see what you mean, where it's just like at a sliver, just a little bit of a sliver left. I remember in Apollo Justice, God, I don't know if this is like a one-time thing or if this happens every time you get a penalty, but I think there's this one specific part where Clavier does like an air guitar. He, of course, pulls his air guitar animation, and that's how he hits you with the penalty. It's so funny. It's so good. I wish they'd remaster Apollo Justice. I want that. I want that 3D from the ground up. It'll never happen, but I want it. But I feel you on the life bar. It does provide visual. The feedback of the visual of the life bar is the visual feedback of the life bar is more intense. I would agree. But the pips are nice stylistically. Indeed. Alone he was. The Englishman, dining all by himself.
Yes!
So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? The victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone. That I did. Forgive me for the position I place you in. So the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support their statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there is only a single beefsteak on the victim's table. A meal for one. No. The antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out!
Yes!
Why aren't you telling the truth? What? What did you say, cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed. But for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, Defendant Naruhodo, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But I... If such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say to that. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. How exactly? You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are the ones you may examine. Press X, and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Use the joystick. Ryunosuke is getting a tutorial! Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Right in the middle. I mean... Well, I was gonna say, you could have prepped him before the trial, but really that wasn't an option at all. Mikotoba was like, hey, by the way, you're the lawyer for this trial. Don't fuck it up for Asogi. And Ryu was like, okay, yes sir. Use the right stick to rotate the evidence in all directions and examine it from all angles. By using the left stick, you can move the crosshairs around to hunt for clues that may have been missed before. If the crosshairs start to pulsate, press X to investigate further. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. I need to use the right stick, the left stick, and X to inspect any areas of the evidence that look suspicious, and not break the fourth wall in the process. I have to remember, like, the English pronunciation of words. Medical report card required for every visit. Name, Mr. John Watson, Hota Clinic. It says Hota Clinic on this medical report card. I hate clinics, almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Aren't they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I've ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I had to have this hideous injection in my right arm. I'll never forget it. Never in my whole life! Most people would give their right arm to have had only one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Let's keep looking for clues. We don't want to miss anything. Oh, there's even a record number and everything. It looks like this medical report card was first issued quite some time ago. It's probably a record of long-term treatment, that's why. With a family doctor, I imagine. Well, I can't imagine. Going to a doctor, I mean. As long as I'm alive, I'm never consulting one. Well, if you were dead, there'd be no point. So you don't like doctors, then? Why would you? They make you drink horrible tasting medicine, they give you painful injections, and then they demand lots of money from you for the privilege. And all when you're at your lowest ebb! You sound like a model patient. With a bad case of stubbornness, no less, for which the only cure is very bitter medicine indeed. Oh, poor Ryu. Alright, let's crack this open. Very, very consistent with his appointment arrivals. Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, And there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he'd had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Although it's hard to believe that there's anything that can actually stop you from feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. Yeah! Bit interesting, isn't it? Laughing gas isn't topical. No, it's not. I think they're referring to, it's a general anesthetic. I've had a lot of dental work done before. You just breathe in the laughing gas. I think maybe the topical anesthetic was like... Oh, I think the topical anesthetic... Wait. Because topical means it's not... Oh, you have my sympathies. Oh, it's alright. It's my own fault. Dental work is no fun. Man, I had to get a root canal a couple of years ago because one of my teeth was, like, rotting just there. And the root canal was fine. It was just, like, having to wait for 6 months to be able to afford it. That sucked, but, yeah. So I thought this was local anesthetic. No, it's alright. It's alright. There are some terms in here that are kind of crisscrossed. Anyway, so it can sometimes be a little bit confusing, but it'll make sense in just a bit. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. I've finished this game front to back before, actually. This is my first time playing the Capcom localization version. They're not medical doctors chalking ears up to that. That's a good point. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. Medical report cards information has been updated in the court record. Yeah, they're just 2 college students, like, making it work. Record of dental work. On the day of the murder, the victim had undergone dental treatment and had been prohibited from eating or drinking anything but water. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. So, I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. Alright. No. Nope. That's not it. Pointing his gun. That's not it. Just at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. One sec. Not true. One sec. Alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. I know what the contradiction is, but I'm trying to figure out which statement was it. He wasn't dining by himself if he'd been. I think it has to be this one. Because, yeah. I mean, he can't eat it. That water is his. Ostensibly, so he was not eating that steak. Yeah, you are not going to be eating steak after a tooth extraction. Fortunately, I've never had to have a tooth extracted. The root canal came pretty close, but, yeah, it's... Even after that kind of dental work, it's pretty hard to eat, so... Probably this.
Yes!
No! Fuck! The music didn't stop. This was the right one! Shit. Well, what about that last statement made by the witness? It seems perfectly reasonable to me. It's exactly! Perfectly reasonable in every way! Oops. Yeah, oops. Perhaps you should take a leaf out of the witness's book and learn to be more reasonable yourself. Alright. Just need to calm down and think everything through again from the start. Dining all by himself. No, I think this might be it. We're the only personnel present. No, not if... Fuck, which is it the... No! No, give me a sec. I know! Fuck, trust me, I know what the contradiction is. We're the only personnel present. Should be dining by himself, but with the medical card, right? Yeah, maybe? Let's try that. Dining all by himself. I think I just presented that. Did I? Did I didn't present the photo, did I? I don't think I did. Dining all by his... Fuck. I think you accidentally did I present the photo? Oh my god, I'm Booper the Fool.
Yes!
Thank you. Thank you, Rue. Ace Attorney Rue over here. No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm glad. Just... I don't want that. If I present the incorrect evidence, then that is a consequence that I must deal with. I'd be Francisca. Oh god, I miss her! Whip everything. God, the investigations spin-offs are really good. It's so good. You get to see like a younger Francisca, and it's wonderful. Her little younger Edgeworth and young Francisca's relationship with siblings, it's very cute. You don't get to see that until the later cases though, but I digress. Love Francisca, miss her. Well, I think, about what are you wittering, lad? Call yourself a lawyer? Excuse me, I wish I could. But first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryunosuke? Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Thank you, Kaz, I appreciate that. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in that cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you knew exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. All right. And thanks for the advice. Correct-san. This is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Ah, I see. And I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what is written on this report card with your witness statement. Something clearly doesn't add up. Dear me, dear me. Have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's... Remember, Ryunosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. This guy's already getting pretty bald. Yeah, he's on his way. But I think he makes it work. How much hair can he lose when you beat him? Oh! It's been... Excuse me. I don't know if he... I think he loses his fan. God. I love that the pain... Wait a sec. Taketsuki Ouchi? That's not what he... Is he called? Fuck. Is that his original Japanese name? Because... that would be a pretty epic pun. Like, that spans generations. Taketsuki Ouchi in the Japanese version, and then Winston Payne several decades later. Just make your point. I will, Kaz, I will. Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides this pale-faced pupil who... This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst half petrified me, boy! Of course I believe it! How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Horta Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted? What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating? Just what are you trying to say, Cadet? He had orders not to eat? So what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't. Correcta-san. What, boy, what? As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more! You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case! Because the victim, as we now know, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. And I stumble over my words. Expertly done, partner.
Objection!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't she follow the logic? How dare you! I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant, in case, have turned. Good one, Kaz. Wouldn't you agree, Ryunosuke? Yes, most definitely. So, having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beefsteak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel? Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? All right. The answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of you turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it! So, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been... I mean, it's gotta be. An unknown third party. Obviously, it can only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table.
Objection!
I'm pretty sure that's it. You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person.
Yes!
There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything. Yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witness testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial. Relentlessly. Kazuma. Are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, counsel. I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have issue with them! Those two witnesses in the stand! What? What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it now turns out that the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And, since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit? In murder? No! Negative! No, there was no mention of this at the tactical meeting! I was just following orders! That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they, told us. Oh. What? What did you just say, Correcta-san? Oh, no. You were just following orders? Now hold on, lad. I was, Say you never saw the gentlewoman? When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
What is the meaning of all this? These witnesses gave false statements? Is this true, you pair? Just one simple slip of the tongue! Order! Order! Counsel, explain what is going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth. Absolutely not! The prosecution knows nothing of this! Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, that's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't... this can't be happening! Ryunosuke, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Ouchi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there were only a handful of possibilities. It could have only been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Well, actually, I think... we have something here. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Looks like, he's not just a waiter. Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh! Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. If they're wielding it somehow here. The waiter's business card information has been updated in the court record. Sketch of the restaurant's layout is on the back. On the front, it's stated that Hosonaga-san is a police inspector. No wonder he was a little nervous about handing this over. Oh. Can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? Before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh, yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. There's no time to lose. I got this. I want answers. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe. Please, wait! Your Excellency! I had no idea about any of this! I swear to every Shinto god! I knew nothing! And what does the defense have to say about all of this? Your Excellency. No time to think. I'm just going to have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes into my head. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is...
Yes!
The head of the restaurant. Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier.
Objection!
Poppycock! What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses... What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not have possibly have that level of influence. For once, I would agree with you. If, that is, the man truly were a waiter. What? If he truly were? Come on, Ryunosuke. Time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity, as proven by this evidence.
Yes!
The plan of the restaurant sketched by the man in question? I agree it shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency, that's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have just said the front? Yes! It's the front of the back of the card! That's where the telling detail is! Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Hosonaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession. His true profession. The waiter's profession? But that's surely... Good gracious! That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before? The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power. Absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the staff. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Inspector Hosonaga? Oh, this track is so good. Play for a couple seconds. I was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Well... Is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course. Here you are. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake. So, you mean to say, you really are a detective? But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course! Your salary must be... I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes. There have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant? What kind of incidents? That would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. Very well then, Inspector Hosonaga, but you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, that there was, in fact, another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would also have been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner. Therefore, I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable! As I suspected. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be an Englishwoman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the Bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say, remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once? It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered and my tongue has been murdered. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect? Well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right! One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yume University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain, and I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory, is a young Englishwoman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. Then the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Giselle Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research laboratory of Yume University's medical faculty. What is happening here? I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to your excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point.
Objection!
But, Your Excellency! That would mean missing the new deadline of a ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain! Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions! Calm yourself, Counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Ugh. Inspector Hosonaga? Yes, sir. You will locate this Giselle Brett and escort her to the courtroom with the utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency. But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau. As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So, it won't be a problem? Someone get this man a lozenge. Nothing will get in my way. Hosanaga's a real one. I fucking love him. Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student Giselle Brett to the witness stand. Common occurrence, yep. Do I make myself clear? Clear? Blech, I'm fumbling. Yes! Yes, Your Excellency! Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. And I have to take a recess myself. Man, that was a lot of... that was a lot of talking. But that was so fun. Yes, I would like to save my current progress. I don't know when I'm gonna stream next. But I do think it will have to be the Great Ace Attorney from here on out while I let my hands, they're okay, but like I need to stop putting so much pressure on them. Oh, thanks, Edge. I'm glad it was fun. I had a really great time doing this. I need to be careful about when I schedule this if I'm going to be doing this because I'm very loud when I do this, and I need to make sure I'm loud at an appropriate hour. Oh, thank you so much, Edge. I appreciate that. Means a lot to me. I don't really, like I said, I do this all the time in private, so I don't really show anyone or like, you know, it's not embarrassing by any means, but I'm like, oh man, I'm hardly a voice actor at all, and I'm kind of making a goofball of myself here, but it's really fun, and I'm glad I could be entertaining. This game gets so crazy. The second one really ramps it up to 11, but this, God, guys, once Sherlock Holmes gets here, that's really when shit starts to pop off, and that's not till case 2, but this case is it's very exciting. You'll get to see Giselle Brett, and her name is actually based on another thing from the Sherlock Holmes lore and canon. Yeah, Herlock. We'll get to see Herlock. Excuse me. TM. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. It really means a lot to me. I had just as much fun as you did. You guys are the ones who make it fun, seriously. But yeah, with that out of the way, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your... for me, it's evening. Depending on where you are, I hope you have a good night. Truman Burbank voice, in case I don't see you. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I love you guys. You take care, okay? Mwah.